The following is a presentation of RoseNet TV, an internet TV channel for the borough of Madison, New Jersey.
University librarian, and we're pleased to be a part of these discussions, which are a good mix of students and community. I think the community folks outnumber the FDU folks this morning. We're delighted you're here, and hope you'll keep coming back. So I got to mention Colleen and her crew for setting up all the arrangements. She does a great job for us. This morning we've got another candidate for governor, another Republican candidate for governor, and actually one of two from this county. We seem to be, Morris County seems to be a hotbed of Republican activity, and in fact our speaker this morning is, since he's not running for to keep his seat in the assembly, I think there's 4 people seeking his seat, so there's a lot of activity. Our speaker this morning, Richard Merkt, is one of the candidates for governor, running in a fairly large Republican field against a front runner who's a little more visible, perhaps, than Richard is so far. Maybe that will change. And then they've got a fairly visible candidate once they decide who the Republican's going to be. So it's going to be an interesting race, and we're glad there's all this interest in it. Our speaker this morning has been a member of the State Assembly for 6 terms, and he's been a Deputy Attorney General under Tom Kean, and he's been very active in Republican politics. He's got wonderful educational credentials, which we appreciate around here. A Yale grad, Fordham law degree, and a master's in government administration from Pennsylvania, and is one of the early people in the certification program for government administrators, something we're interested in around here. I think he is running. I saw a little article. I presume this is right. I didn't have a chance to double check it with him, but he's running for governor in a little unique way. He's actually running through the communities, and saw a little notice in the newspaper that he sometime in last month he went through his 500th community. So he's getting a really ground's eye view of New Jersey, and I suspect he's seen some things he hadn't seen before. So that'll bring a unique perspective. He's made economic issues a centerpiece of his campaign, and I think he wants to focus a bit on the Council of Affordable Housing. One of the issues that the class, I think, is becoming more and more aware of is one of the reasons for the terrific tax burden we all enjoy around here. And so he's going to say a word about that, and I'm sure from that get into the reasons he wants to be governor. And so let's give a warm welcome to Richard Merkt.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction. And yes, I'm going to start out by talking about COA this morning. And I assure you that COA is going to lead into other subjects. And I'll try not to drag it out too long, because I actually prefer questions and answers. And I note here that we have another candidate for governor, Carl Bergmanson, Glen Ridge, right? Who is running on the other side of the ledger. And I commend him. You know, this is always an interesting trip, and it's a remarkable thing, and I'll talk a little later about how I got into it. Let's talk about COA. COA, the Council on Affordable Housing. My gosh, who could be opposed to affordable housing? I wish I had it myself. COA is the intellectual godchild of the Supreme Court's, and I say the Supreme Court, I'm referring to the New Jersey Supreme Court, the Supreme Court's decision in Mount Laurel. And basically what Mount Laurel stands for in its case law progeny is the idea that every place in New Jersey has to have its rateable share of housing so that people can live wherever they want to live in New Jersey. They can't just live in one city or another. They have to be able to live anywhere. I have, to begin with, substantial problems with the Supreme Court making policy. And I'm going to come back to this in spades, believe me. The reason I have problems with the Supreme Court making policy is they're not elected. This is a democratic republic. Only elected officials get to make policy, be they mayors, be they county freeholders or county commissioners, for those who are not from New Jersey, or be they legislators or a governor. Why? Why do you think we have it? The answer is simple. It's because we're politically accountable for what we do. If we blunder, the people of New Jersey can very readily send a message to us that we should change our mind. If we blunder enough, or often enough, they replace us. It's a glorious thing. Elections are revolutions without the bloodshed. And so that's a wonderful thing that breaks down completely when you have courts making those kinds of decisions. Also, I mean, when you think about the nature of courts, it's worth noting that courts are not what I would call a broad slice of the American public. And they're certainly not a broad slice of the New Jersey public. Courts are populated in this state exclusively by lawyers. And I can plead guilty because I've been one for the better part of 40 years. There are approximately 80,000 lawyers in New Jersey, and there are about 8 million people, 8 or 9 million. So you're talking about basically 1 in 100. And these people have arrogated to themselves the right to make policy decisions for the people of New Jersey. And it's wrong. And it's wrong for a whole host of reasons. And you know what amazes me? These people, more than any other, are educated and aware of our constitutional system and its division and separation of powers. They should be sensitive, above all, to the importance of an independent judiciary that does not engage in politics. And yet, that's exactly what has happened in New Jersey. Now, to COA itself. The Council on Affordable Housing was a legislative reaction to Mount Laurel, very typical in New Jersey. The Supreme Court barks, and the legislature jumps. The legislature in New Jersey has no sense of itself. It doesn't stand up for its constitutional and institutional integrity. Instead, the Supreme Court says, do this, and the legislature does it.